Welcome to part 2 of the supernatural foes videos, and we're looking at the types of entities. So they are pirates and parasites. So they're parasites that they're feeders, and they will feed off fear, depression, anxiety, but also intimate energy, excitement, ecstasy type feelings as well. And so one of the classes of these entities is called incubi and succubi. And there's a great article by Bernhard Guenther talking about this particular type of vampirism. And in that article, he says that the medieval tradition recognized these two classes of demons which invade sleep. And he said that when a climax takes place in dreams, the ancients believed that the experience was due to the action of these demons and that they were responsible for lascivious dreams. They use telepathic suggestion and they feed off that intimate energy. So this is a quote from another spiritual, not religious site, Ascendancy Glossary. It's all too common for human men, women, and children to be subjected to this astral rape during the sleep state. But it's really important to realize that these things are not just like a nebulous negative energy. So there's different beliefs of what they are, but based on the apocryphal texts, including Book of Enoch, Book of Giants, there's a belief that they could be the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. These are the offspring of angels and human women that talked about in Genesis. And they're once they died, their spirits are kind of hanging around. There's also a belief they might be the fallen angels, although they have been locked away in Tartarus. So there's an argument that it's not them. However, Derek Prince he was a guy that specialized in exorcisms, and he said you must see them as persons without bodies, and that it's important to realize that you're dealing with a person, if you like. So there's a personality there. It's not just some nebulous thing. Now, Roger Morneau, I looked at his testimony. It's absolutely fascinating. He was in a satanic cult in the 1940s, and he identified 3 divisions of demon spirits. And then he said within those divisions, there are further divisions. And what he grouped them into these 3 categories. So the first was warriors, and he said that they like to bring misery and destruction into the lives of people. The warriors concentrate on causing discord in families, hatred amongst classes of society, and wars amongst nations. Then he talked about the oppressor type, and he said that they find delight in inflicting misery and destruction on people. Possibly these are the ones that cause the schizophrenia, the suicidal depression. They send these really negative feelings. And then he talked about these, what he called friendly demon spirits. And he said they seem to have finesse and refinement. I would call, or we would perhaps call in the modern day, these are the false light entities. And they absolutely specialize in deceiving people. And he said one of the things they love to do is appear as supposed spirits of the dead. So these are, I think these are kind of really dangerous because they can't, because they're so deceptive and they don't reveal themselves and they shapeshift. And this is a quote from Roger Morneau. He says, contrary to popular belief, necromancy does not consist of conjuring the spirits of the dead. The reason being that man is totally mortal and does not possess an immortal soul. So who are they talking to? He says the friendly demon spirits have found over the centuries great delight in impersonating apparitions, departed loved ones, and persons of great renown. So remember, he was in a satanic cult, and in the satanic world, they don't believe that men have an immortal soul. Okay, so they don't believe that we will go on forever. And in the Christian world, that's the same, that they don't believe that there is an immortal soul. So that part of you comes to an end at some point. So there might be, and in the biblical belief system, there is a barrier. So the Christian belief system is that people could go to heaven, but there's a barrier that people cannot contact the dead through that barrier. And so this is the satanic world, and Roger Morneau saw people channeling these spirits and doing this, that they do these amazing impressions of the dead, and that is what he believes, that the spiritualist church, the mediumship, is what it's really tapping into. They don't know that. They think it's good. They think it's good spirits and real people that have passed on. And that's why I think this is so deceptive and so scary, in that they appear, these beautiful, beautiful angels, and they come across as really loving and lovely, but they are deliberately deceiving us. And of course, that does beg the question why, which we'll go into. So what we've discovered is that there is a whole range of negative entities operating in the astral world, and some appear as very good and helpful beings, and some don't. Some appear as horrible and frightening beings. Some of them seem to feed off fear and anxiety, but some of them feed off euphoric feelings, ecstasy, and they clearly enjoy deceiving us and causing mayhem. Now, it was Roger Morneau's testimony, when I read that and saw him interviewed, it first alerted me to this idea that I'd never thought of before. These beings are working strategically together in a hierarchical structure. So he talked about the three divisions, but there seems to be great hierarchies under each. Now, if you look at the work of Alice Bailey, and she considered herself a white magician. She was a 32nd degree Mason. She was part of the Theosophical Society, and she channeled an ascended master. Her writings were called the externalization of the hierarchy. So she talked about this hierarchy of ascended masters. Aleister Crowley also talked about what he called secret chiefs, this hierarchy of masters. And I was found as well, when I was reading Fritz Springmeier, he seems to be a bit of a dodgy character in some ways, but he was an expert on mind control victims and seemed to know about CIA mind control work and stuff like that. And he said that the CIA worked with demons in these mind control programs, and that they are in a hierarchical structure, that these demons are. And he says it's what our military is based on. And he also said that people get assigned a demon to monitor them from birth. And that made me think, this guardian angel, you get guardian angel from birth, is that a new age deception? But what wasn't clear was whether they was assigned to people born into particular families or if it's everybody. And then I was looking at the work of another chap called Russ Dizdar. He was a police chaplain, and he specialized in deprogramming people with multiple personality disorder and dissociative disorder. And he said part of that was deliverance, i.e. clearing out the demons. And he also said that they would call up the demons in the person when they were trying to solve a crime, because the demons knew more about the crime than the person. So sometimes the person wasn't even, they'd been so possessed basically and taken over that they didn't know what they were doing. But he said they're liars. There's no point talking to them for too long because they're such liars. And he said they're very structured and hierarchical. They seem to work together, and some are much more powerful in the hierarchy than others. And something else I was looking at Emanuel Swedenborg, and he was a theologian, philosopher, mystic, scientist, and he conjured and worked with good spirits, what he thought were good spirits. But interestingly, he said as well, they are liars. So back to Roger Morneau, he said that the satanic high priest told him of this cult that he was involved in, told him that at the beginning of the 1700s, the devil and all his spirit counselors held a great general council, and their objective, their goal was winning souls, and they wanted to come up with a plan on how to do that. And this is the plan told to Morneau by the high priest in the 1940s, but this plan was made in the 1700s. So first, they were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist. The second was to be able to find a way to get total control of people's minds. And how were they going to do that? They said they needed to take hypnotism out of the realm of the occult and introduce it as a new science for the benefit of mankind. And this way they would be able to use people of great renown, educators, to move forward their agenda. And people of capacity they would connect with, they would do great things using hypnotism, such as supposedly regress people in time to former lives that they had. And then the third point was to destroy the Bible without burning it. So allegedly, if this plan was made in the 1700s, it was conveyed to Morneau in the mid-40s. So we know 80 years later, let's just check in against each of those points. So does the devil, so 40% of American Christians, which I would have said were probably the strongest Christian believing country, or a lot more than the UK, they don't believe that the devil exists and that it's a symbol of evil. So that was a survey in 2009. 65% of British people don't believe in the devil. So yeah, there is definitely been a falling away of people believing it, whereas everybody used to back in the 1700s. Hypnotherapy is widely available. People go to stop smoking now, don't they? It's not offered on the NHS in the UK, but interestingly, they've got pages on their website about it, but they do say don't use hypnotherapy if you have psychosis or certain personality disorders, as it can make your condition worse, which I thought was really interesting, because I'm now thinking a lot of those, not always, but some of those personality disorders are going to be caused because of a demon problem, an entity problem. And then destroy the Bible without burning it. Well, in the UK, only 6% of British adults read the Bible. 55% of UK Christians never read the Bible. And that was in 2017, that survey. So that's quite surprising. And that plan seems to be working. Then they also said that the next stage to achieve their goals was to get people to have out-of-body experiences, get trans mediums to converse with influential people of the light. So what today, back in the 40s, what they were called trans mediums, today we would call a channeler, and influential people of the light. So that's the false light beings. And these demons, when they came to people, would declare that they were inhabitants from far distant planets, come to warn humanity, come to help humanity. And they were going to give us valuable guidance about avoiding destroying our planet. And they would talk about ushering in a new age of peace and prosperity, where there'll be no more wars or famines, and neighbor will love neighbor. There'll be no more social unrest. And so how's that plan? Those 3 points going nearly 80 years later. Well, OBEs, astral travel, is really popular now, and you can go online and learn to astral travel. And I've got people follow astral travelers online as well, and that will travel and bring back information from their out-of-body journeys. And the other place that people can go into the astral realm is altered states. So if you get into an altered state through certain dance, trance music, and psychedelics, natural or otherwise. And there's loads of that going on. Everybody, or loads of people, seem to be into that. And there's the trans mediums or channelers. There's just been an explosion of channelers. I mean, you can get channelers channeling everything: ascended masters, advanced alien beings, spirit guides, angel guides, all sorts of things. Some of the ones I admit that I have followed in the past, I don't follow now, but Laurie Ladd, Magenta Pixie, Feel Good, Abraham Hicks. I think there's a guy called Bashar or something. So all of these are all channeling these different entities now. And that's not to say that the channelers don't know what necessarily, well, they don't know what they're channeling is not good. Roger Morneau himself, he saw Shirley MacLaine talking in the 80s about channeling an advanced alien, and he could not, he almost fell off his chair when he saw it, because this was exactly as the satanic priest had told him in the 40s. He left that cult, by the way. There's a link to his testimony in the comments, because it's just fascinating. And yes, and a lot of channelers are channeling beings claiming to be inhabitants of distant planets. And my research then took me down this rabbit hole into the alien phenomena and looking at alien abductions. And this chap, Ray Boucher, I saw, he was approached by the Department of Defense in America to take part in an NHE project. So that's a non-human entity project. And he was told that there seemed to be this dark cloud on the project. People seemed to be getting sick and dying, people having strange runs of bad luck. And they basically concluded, the people that were working on this project, so thought they were working with non-NHEs, they thought were perhaps aliens, but what they've concluded were that they were demonic beings. And the reason they asked Ray, this chap, was because he is also a preacher. Then there is, I found that there's this guy called Lou Elizondo, who's a former intelligence officer of the Department of Defense, and he was working on a UFO case. And then a top-ranking officer told him that they knew what it is, what the UFO was, and they're not pursuing it. So he was told to drop the case. And he was confused, been working on it, and said, well, what is it? Do you know what it is? Is it Russia? And the officer told him they're demonic. Jack Valet is a man, he studied UFOs for 30 plus years. And originally his hypothesis was that they were extraterrestrial, but he altered his hypothesis through his studies because he realized that they were actually, or his research and showed that they were interdimensional, not extraterrestrial. And then Dr. John Mack, a Harvard professor in ufology, he's done a study which is greatly respected, and his conclusions that they are both physical and psychological and spiritual experiences occurring. And he said they are originating in another dimension, but they come in from another domain, another dimension. And then sometimes the people in this dimension are just gone. They're simply gone. So there are real physical abductions going on as well. So there is something dimensional about these things. And could these also therefore be demons? So we'll end this second part there. And then in the third part, we're going to look at signs and symptoms of whether you have any of these things affecting you in your life. And then we will look at how to protect ourselves. I'll see you in the next one.